Today, I'm speaking with Paul Brennan, one of New Zealand's most experienced broadcasters. For more than 40 years, Paul has worked across music, talk, and public radio. He spent time in TV advertising and has built a strong career in aviation media and even documentary production. You'll know his voice from his 15 years as a top newsreader at RNZ, where he was a finalist for Best Newsreader at New Zealand Radio Awards in 2018 and 2019. Paul has also contributed to business journalism through his work with New Zealand Business Review, where he's helped carry on its long tradition of clear and direct reporting on New Zealand business. Today, though, you'll find him as part of the team at RCR, Reality Check Radio, where he gives a platform to a wide range of views from across the country. Paul, thanks for being here. I have
Erica, it's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
I've been invited on your show a number of times, so we thought it would be awesome to interview you for a change, as you have interviewed some of the most interesting people across the country in your time.
Yeah,
So,
and around the world too, as it turns out more and more. Yeah.
what drove you to become part of media?
When I was a kid, because that's when it started, I was
Right?
the youngest person, on-air person ever hired at RNZ. And I think I still hold the record at just 3 months after turning 16.
No way.
Yeah.
How did you land that?
Um, Coming up to leaving school,
Yeah.
and my school doesn't exist anymore. It was demolished for a rest home in Petone, Wellington. So when I go back there, all I see is people sort of sitting out with rugs over their knees and waiting for the pureed meal. But the amazing thing about that school, Petone Technical College, it was a trades fodder school, right? So the metalwork, woodwork, getting you ready for, an industrial job somewhere, the railways, workshops, one of the car assembly entities. Of course, we used to assemble all the cars here in New Zealand. People forget that
Right.
now. But it had a little radio station there.
No way.
And already I had been interested in the radio after getting a little transistor, actually, at about the age of 10 for Christmas from memory. And I only used to know national radio before that because that's what my parents listened to. But then I discovered one music station. There was only one. And I think it was 2ZB and 2ZM in Wellington, ZM being the music station. That brand still exists. And News Talk ZB now is what the ZB network morphed into after RNZ sold those stations. So I got into the kind of like the music that I was listening to, and Casey Kasem, American Top 40 was on, and that got me thinking about how cool was that.
Right.
And I went from wanting to be a captain on one of the ferries, because I used to watch them go out of the Wellington Harbour every day, then wanting to be an airline pilot, though I nearly
Huh.
tried that once. Uh, Later became a private pilot. Um, uh, to wanting to be a music DJ on a radio station. That's where it started. And when I came to leaving school, my mother, in desperation, said, "Look, don't know what you want to do, Paul. I'll help you write some letters if you want. What do you think?" And I said, "Well, broadcasting, want to get on the radio." Of course, Dad wasn't too keen with that, didn't think it was a real job.
Mm.
Journalism, thank God I avoided that. And I think the other one was a typesetter at the Evening Post back in the day when they used to, do the lines of lead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was still there. And what happened? Journalism thing. I think that was to the Evening Post as well. I didn't get any replies from them, but I got a reply from Radio New Zealand,
No
and
way.
and I think they were just curious. But that's how you find talent, right? You don't ignore things. So I
Yeah.
got invited in to meet Brian Scott, who's long gone, who was the chief announcer at the time for RNZ for the commercial division. So you have to understand, back in the day, there were the commercial radio stations that were owned by RNZ. They were all the regional stations and the ZMs and the ZBs. And then there was the national radio and the concert, right? So this is the commercial area. And I went in and I met Brian, and of course, I knew who he was. He'd been around for ages. And he got me to read a few things out and do the standard audition. And of course, I've been practicing up my voice over a period of time, um, um, copying the guys I hear on the radio.
Yep.
And that might have sounded a bit weird to everyone at home, but that's what I did. And about 3 weeks later, I get a letter back from them saying, "Hey, we think you got some potential. Come in again." So I went in again, and they said, "Well, we're not going to put you on the radio immediately, but we'll take you into the cadet program." They had a cadet program,
Huh.
which sort of disappointed me initially, but then I see that was the best thing because I learned everything. I
Yeah.
started with filing records for Wayne Mowat on The Tonight Show back in the
No
day.
way.
Wayne's still a good old mate, but he's one of the what I call the broadcasters broadcaster, him and Hewitt Humphrey. So I started there, went into the music research that was big at the time because things were getting very competitive, and it was becoming sort of computer based for that. Of course, you're playing a 3 or 4 minute song, you want people to stay listening, not tune out. So that was turned into a science, which turned out to be bogus actually. Gut feel worked better. And then an opportunity came up a few months later when the guy down the road at Broadcasting House, we were up on the terrace in Wellington, Broadcasting House, no longer there. Great act of vandalism took care of that
Oh,
to replace it for, I think it was a government car park at first, but they really just didn't want public radio, I don't think. So they
seems to be
demolished
how
the
it
whole
works.
thing. And that was a beautiful building. It was custom made. It was just stunning.
Wow.
And the guy who was doing nights on the ZM down there, 2ZM, something had happened and they were desperate for someone to fill the gap that day. And my name came up. I got sent down the road, should have shown how to use the gear. They already knew how to use the gear. And pretty well that night, or was it the next night? It was really close. I was on and I was on for the next year.
No
That's how it
way.
worked. And then got into the system, got sent around the country to Palmerston North, Tauranga, and where you are, Radio BOP it was then, spent 4 years there with Brian Kelly and Andrew Love and Wayne Douglas and Graham Miller. Gosh, all those names come flooding back.
Wow.
And sort of did my time training. That's what that was. Back to Wellington, ZM on FM this time. And then out of there into initial commercial news reading. I realized I had a thing that I could read news really well for some reason. I don't know why. When I started off, I could hardly read anything out loud at all. But
Really?
I ended up being able to read news and people quite liked that. So started to get rostered on news shifts again for the commercial stations. Did a lot of that and then moved out of the music stuff. I got bored with that. Went into business, set up a sound studio, video studio. That's how I got into the TV advertising. That went for about 10 years, but I also carried on doing contract radio stuff, talkback radio in Wellington, and then RNZ news reading. I did a year at Radio Pacific. Then that was talkback radio. That was really entertaining. Talkback between the races because we used to take all the racing,
Right.
and then into RNZ national now, and then news reading all the way from I think '06 to 2020. So yeah, about 15, 16 years. And then left RNZ because it was getting too woke and I was a white male, the wrong age, and I could see where it was heading. And a friend of mine who's the publisher of the NBR, Todd Scott, said, "Hey, we want to do a video news bulletin. We know that you do all video stuff. Why don't you come and work for us?" Which I did for a year or 18 months. That was interesting because, I mean, I was sort of interested in business, but not fixated on it. But I got to know a lot about the personalities behind it. That was interesting. And then Sean Plunkett, of all people, rang up and said he's setting up this platform thing and could I help in establishing that? And I said, that sounds interesting. So that came along. Didn't quite turn out how I thought it would be, though respect to him, he got it together.
Yeah.
And then that ended up with RCR. So
Wow.
so the whole body of work ended up with being able to do RCR. That's what that means.
Do you know, I started my career in radio. I was 18,
All
kind of
right.
similar, dropped a demo tape and didn't think I would get it and got a call back.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
not
You
as
know how it feels,
anywhere
yes.
near as impressive as yours. Um,
Well, it's kind of a mix of random events glued together by timing.
yeah. When did you realize you had this incredible voice for radio?
Well, it's funny. I never think of think of it like that. It was just a tool that you had to hone in to be useful.
Yeah.
I think using it the way I can now, and it's not as robust as it used to be because I had cancer, throat cancer, 14 years ago, and I can wear it out pretty quick now. But a lot of people told me you sound better now than you used to, so I'll take that. But it was from doing advertising
Ah,
because you have to. I mean, everything's a sell, right? Everything's a sell, and I'm having to voice all these ads from, toy stores and tile warehouse and bow repairs. I was a corporate voice for bow repairs for about 6 years
I
and all
knew I
these things.
recognized that voice.
And bow repairs and Vince Martin, got to know him sort of. So you have to say things in a nuanced way
Yeah.
to try and put the best sell on it. I think that was where I sort of learned to use it properly, you know. I mean, it's all right
Yeah.
sitting there as a DJ putting on the voice and sort of copying people, but if you're trying to create emotional responses, which is what advertising is primarily, you've got to say things in a particular way. And that meant that also in news reading later on RNZ National, that because news is telling stories, even though it's not fiction, but
Right.
there are happy things, sad things, tragic things,
Mm,
odd things, and you need to be able to create the sort of the feeling of what you're talking about, so people get it.
right.
So, but in terms of tone of voice and stuff, I've really never thought about it that much. My father was a great singer in choirs, and he had a great voice. So. Yeah, I don't know how it came to be. Again, just one of those things that happened, which helped me. Yeah.
You've seen more sides of the media in the past 40 plus years, almost than anyone else. How would you describe that the media has changed over that time since you started and up to now?
Well, back in the day when I became interested in it, and that was mainly music, it was hot. Music radio was hot. It was in its not early phase, but its sort of teen phase. Rock and roll radio, I suppose, really hit its straps in the mid 60s. I started getting interested in 73, 74. So it was only a decade old. It's funny, you hear all those classic songs
Yeah.
now, and I look back and I think, geez, that had only been out 5 years when I started doing that. Um, but so it wasn't that long after those formats were established that I came along. So I was in the evolution of it still, and it was great. It was hot. It was sensational, incredibly popular. And there's a certain sound with AM that I remember. I mean,
Yeah.
FM stereo is great, but there was something about AM, even though it was sort of compressed and narrow bandwidth in terms of the sonics.
Yeah.
It was a great sound back in the day. And the other thing was that nothing was automated. So when
Right.
you did your show, you were actually queuing up records on a turntable. You were
Yeah.
timing. We used to have cartridge machines that played all the ads. You were timing each. You might play eight in a row, and you got the last words on the label. You're timing it, and you're hitting it just at the right moment. Then you're into a jingle, and then smash back into another song. And that was a very intense sort of motor function, coordinated motor function. If you could do
Yeah.
that well, you sounded even better. So from that point of view, it was hot. It was conservative in the news and information space. BBC kind of values. We were emulating BBC style. And, it was very ethical, is what I
Mm,
remember. We had it drummed into us that of if we were reporting anything, what the rules were. You had to confirm, and it was triple confirmation, I think, was the rule. That we had armies of new sub-editors that made sure nothing crazy went to air.
right.
And there was a real conscious effort to maintain standards. And if you didn't, you sort of got into trouble.
Mm.
That's changed
How
big
so?
time. Well, I can, for a start, the quality of pronunciation and articulation and enunciation. has deteriorated massively. We were trained. We went into a They had a training school in Wellington that they put you through for, I think it was 6 weeks, with
Like
masters of
dialect?
their. Well, yeah, we had to learn phonetics so we could. Now I've forgotten it all now, but it was useful back then because there were words you didn't know how to pronounce, and people could
Right.
just write the phonetics of it, and you'd have it. And the people who taught us were big names who had sort of come off the end of their careers and were teaching standards. That's all obviously gone. I think
Yeah.
also that people are just saying things if they think it rather than, you know, having any facts or information to back them up.
Yeah.
That's changed. I see that right across the media. And just that lowering of standards across the board is very noticeable to me now. And
It
to
seems like
colleagues from that era too, that when we talk about it.
it seems like journalism has become lazy. I notice now it's like most of them are just reporting on a press release, many times not even checking to see if it's accurate or true. Um, and do
Hmm.
you think that because of all these issues that the rise of alternative media was really inevitable?
Oh yeah, yeah. It maybe took longer than it should have. I think a lot of it relates back to the way that journalism has been taught in the last 20, 25 years
Oh,
through universities and being a degree course. It was never a degree course. It was a polytech, and you hung out in a newsroom for a year and did your time,
yeah.
and that's how you learnt. I think that was very effective. But when it became, a saleable part of a university bums on seats kind of thing, you know, you had to you had to attract the this is my personal view. You had to attract
Right.
the students in, and the way of doing that was basically telling them that it was a very honorable profession. Of course, it is and it was.
Right.
But you can change the world, and there's between chaos and goodness is just you. And I think they kind of believed it. And with that, I think you've had usually the tutors are failed in their area.
Yeah.
That's why they're there. I mean, I'm being very general there. I'm sure there's some
Right.
that weren't like that. So, and they'll have particular attitudes, which will extend to political views.
Yep.
And I think that they became baked in, and that's
Mm.
why we see now, probably now three generations of journalists, and there are a few who are not like that, but who are kind of conditioned to operate in a particular way. Now, why facts have been thrown overboard, that's a more curious thing.
Mm.
But I think narratives have become more important than actual factual stories.
Yeah.
And the difference is there's a big blurring of that, and that with the culture of the education process for journalists in the time I just mentioned, I think has had a lot to do with why you're seeing now a degrading of that profession.
Mm.
I think there has been definitely.
Now that you've gone to, well, why did you choose to go to RCR? What was it about Reality Check Radio that maybe you weren't able? Why did you change to it? Why did you go to it?
Well, at the platform, sort of the work of setting it up to get it functional had
Mm.
been substantially done, the bit that I could help with anyway. And I could see that, and as I say, no disrespect to Sean and that setup, because it's not
Mm.
easy to set something like that up,
Right.
in terms of pulling all the technology together and doing it in that particular way, away from the old broadcast system, which is
Mm.
what we've been debating just in the last week or so. But it didn't quite as go as far as I thought it would go as the resistance. Okay, because that's
Right.
how we were
Yeah, that's what
casting.
I was really hoping where it would go as well.
And it sort of was,
Yeah.
but the whole COVID thing, it's tripped so many things up, tripped
Yeah.
that up.
It has really changed. COVID has, seems to have changed just about everything. It's had a huge impact across the country, across the globe, really.
You can't cherry pick. You can't
Yeah.
be the resistance against the Maorification of things,
Right.
or what it would another one be, or trans, and leave out the biggest elephant in the room.
How do you feel about him calling everybody a cooker?
Well, yeah, poor boy. Um, it's easy. It's easy. I think a lot of people, and I feel sorry for a lot of people, and I'm second guessing here, but I think I see a pattern.
Yeah.
One way of dealing with it is to push it away and cast anyone who has a different view by sort of labeling people a particular thing
Mm,
and sort of denying, like, I just don't want to even think about it because
right.
my brain's going to explode. I just feel sorry for people in that situation, but it is what it is. And looking back, I'm not surprised, but it wasn't for me.
As you've been with RCR, what are the patterns that you're seeing? Because you don't just speak to cookers, you speak with politicians and you're quite versed. There's a lot of different people that you interview. So, are there any patterns or trends that you're seeing across these interviews?
Well, there's some that won't be interviewed, okay,
Mm,
which means the picture's not complete as far as the information that we want to cover that we can put out. See, I don't care if you think different. I'm speaking for me here.
right.
If you've got a different idea than me, I don't care about that at all. I'm curious as to why, and if you're compelling and I realize I've missed something, hopefully I can update my thinking from that. But I think we're very challenging. We're more challenging than the platform because we do ask questions that I think particularly politicians
Mm,
would much rather avoid. And there's a cozy little thing going in the media. I mean, you might watch Q&A and say, oh, they tried to do a gotcha. While they're
right.
trying to do gotchas, everyone's relaxed. It's
Yeah.
no problem. It's easy to bat those off. And
Yeah.
while you're busy sort of working out your gotcha, you're missing the nuance. You're not listening to what
Right.
is actually being said. This is just my opinion, okay?
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's very important to listen really carefully. The gems come out of just listening carefully and
Yeah.
almost going in with a blank, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got my opinions and thoughts, obviously, they'll always influence me. But okay, so I think it's the curiosity factor. That's
Right.
what's missing. And that's dangerous to certain politicians. I mean,
Mm,
I'd love to be able to talk with the Minister of Health. I would like to ask him, how come that vaccine's still out there? Do you know that you could be responsible for injury and death? Now, that's
yeah.
a fair enough question, right? He doesn't even want to hear it.
Wonder
He,
why.
he know because he knows he can't answer it
Mm,
in a way that's acceptable. So you just avoid, avoid, avoid. I think that's one of the most serious things we face. Trying to talk to anyone who advocates it, it's impossible. They don't want to be having
mm,
questions asked. And then you've got to ask, well, why? Why don't, if you think it's the hottest thing, the best thing, then you'd come
yeah.
on and you'd be so confident and you'd be able to convince us. So not coming on tells me
Yeah,
is the
because we
quiet
all
part
seem to
out loud.
stick into the bubble, eh? Like you're only talking with people who think like you. I see this now with young people where, they're only associating with people who are very similar to them, and no longer are they have a broad range of people that they speak with who think differently than them, who maybe have a different background or belief or value system where, and I don't know if social media has changed that or not, but now it just seems that everyone is kind of in their own bubble. And if you're not in the bubble, they don't want to have a bar of it when you get into these kind of complex topics.
Well,
Like,
I come back to that word curiosity.
mm,
Something has killed the curiosity of a lot of people.
yeah,
Just wanting to know stuff, like even if you don't
understand,
like it.
eh?
I mean, it's really thrilling
Yeah,
knowing about new things,
yeah.
but you don't get there without some level of curiosity.
No, that's true. And it used to be that was a positive thing was to be curious, to ask questions. And now it's almost feels like it's the opposite. Even I feel like, oh gosh, we're getting into these topics like, oh Jesus. But really, we should be able to talk about them. We
Well, it's
should be
interesting.
able to.
You and I have talked about local government quite a bit, specifically Tauranga, but I've talked with a lot of people on local government over
Mm,
the last 3 years. Again, don't want to answer questions.
right.
Don't want to ask them, don't want to answer them.
And why? See, I'm seeing some interesting things with politicians because I don't think now, as coming through all of this stuff that we've been talking about in the past, elected members seem to not understand what their role is. I'm facing that right now at the current elected members in Tauranga. I don't actually think that they understand what their role is. They're looking at it as if it's a private venture, and by doing something that the council has promised is now seen as oh, hey, well, we're trying to help you out. So, when actually that's not what it is. You're supposed to be doing what your job is, which is governing. And no one seems to be holding anyone to account. They're all just almost agreeing with things because they don't want a hard work environment, you know?
Yeah, my theory on that is that people are just after the money now. They just want the money.
Yeah,
We saw that
easy.
COVID. People shut their mouths and let people die because they wanted money,
Mm,
you
yeah,
know. Now I took a hit. I lost a job because of that. And I was prepared to go and live on the street and not surrender my bodily autonomy or do what these effers were trying to tell me to do. So I don't have, as time goes on, I don't have too much sympathy for people who are just in it for their material
mm,
status and are willing to throw anyone, including probably grandma, under the bus for it. And I think that
yeah.
reveals what we've become here, actually. And
And just seeing families fall apart, relationships fall apart. It's, no longer can someone just have an opinion that's different from someone else. Where before, I would find it fascinating, like you were saying, just to talk about it. Why did you choose it that way? Why didn't you do it? I and now you're seeing this huge anti-mainstream, anti-establishment movement. It seems to keep growing. I feel it now. Like people keep asking me if I'll run in 2026 election, and I won't, because
what's the point?
yeah,
The
exactly.
machinery doesn't work.
No, I feel like you could be more effective on this side of it by actually telling stories, talking to people, and actually trying to figure out how you can solve some of these huge issues that we're facing. Do you think that the way that things are going, do you think that, how do you view politics will be in the next 2 to 5 years?
I really hope the wheels don't fall off, but I got a feeling they will.
Mm. In what
Uh,
way?
I think severe, severe recession or even depression.
Mm.
I mean, the world's broke.
Yeah.
Look at every council. Dunedin's paying $1 million a week in interest, and that's a poor city.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know whether Tauranga, last time we talked, I think it's in their ballpark for their debt.
4 billion it's going to be. Four
Who's
billion of debt.
who's ever going to pay it down?
I don't know. The cost of living, I mean, even just going grocery shopping, I have a toddler and, just getting as much milk as he goes through. I just like, oh my
In a
God.
country that's awash with it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't even make sense, you know?
So I think it could be very tough economically, and I think it'll be a slow boil to that point potentially.
Mm,
So and also I think that the country can't afford the COVID aftermath. Is if you look at the numbers that are coming out of the US on disability
yeah.
and injury, who's
Yeah.
going to pay? I mean, a lot of the medical people are in the same boat. I mean,
Yeah.
who's going to be around? The birth rate is plummeting. Who's going to afford to pay the taxes to deal with us boomers as we
Yeah.
retire? I mean, these are things that
You're right.
I want to know the strategies for dealing with that now. In fact, I keep asking politicians that come on, Shane
Yeah.
Jones, Winston Peters, maybe a few of the ACT guys, what's the plan?
And what do they say?
There isn't one.
Yeah. And that is concerning for everyone.
Even if we started a national savings fund,
Mm.
it's not going to be done in time.
No, it seems like we're just heading at a rapid speed towards the cliff.
I think the housing market has been a terrible thing for New Zealand.
Mm.
People have felt rich on paper really easily. I think it is a Ponzi scheme, and it's now the reason why people aren't having families, etc.
Mm.
I don't see, without a hard fall, I don't see how we come out of that either. And that's going to depress people. That's going to make them feel like losers,
Yeah.
en masse potentially. And then you can't afford to pay your rates, getting back to that. Who, how do they get the money out of you? They come and take your house.
Mm, yeah. I mean, you can't
But
even,
I could be wrong.
I hope you're wrong, but I feel the same kind of sentiment. It just seems like, oh my God. I mean, I can't even go on social media anymore because it's just, as you scroll through, it's, no wonder people are confused, especially with AI. I think it's
Well,
just
that's
going
the
to get
other thing.
worse.
AI, I think there'll be more reliance on AI in government
Mm,
as a shiny thing to help. Um, but I don't think that will end up. In fact, we've got to be very careful with how we
use it.
use that tool because
Yeah.
I think it could become something that comes and slaps us back in the face, or even worse. I think what needs to, if I was running the show, Erica,
Mm,
if I was the boss,
tell
we
me.
would be going into a managed austerity program
Yeah.
pretty quickly and trying to, seal off the worst so people don't like fall right off the cliff. But I think
Mm,
we're looking at about 10 or 15 years of a very austere kind
mm,
of budgeting process across all the areas of government, public service, etc. And I think that while that's on, we need to reinvent how we actually function economically. Because if AI can replace 75, 80% of jobs within the next 3 years, which it can,
right.
and that's even manual labor jobs, okay, then is is money the thing that makes things work anymore? If no one's earning,
Mm,
um,
so true.
what is the method of exchange? Well, we're back to bartering.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. How about we'll change the tone. What's some of the most interesting calls or callers or people you've interviewed that you can remember?
Well, it's been a lot. Um, Obviously, with RCR, I think it's well over 2,000 interviews since we started,
Oh, wow.
and then probably another couple of hundred on the platform, and maybe a couple of thousand at RNZ through the years. So there's a lot of people. I can't remember them all.
Any
Uh,
favorites?
um, Tom, what's his name? I'll have to. Tom Campbell, the physicist. Actually, yeah,
Yeah.
he's the most fascinating person I've ever spoken to. He's come up with a theory of everything. The interviews on RCR.
Oh, wow.
I got him early on, and he. It's really hard to describe quickly, what he says and what it means. But if you want an explanation for reality and how
Yeah.
it works, and a useful explanation where you can then start working the machinery of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say to your advantage, but to try and stay, ahead of the
Mm,
game, I would say he's the most interesting. There have been so many fascinating people. I'm just trying to think of anyone else that really jumps out. But I remember back in the day doing talkback a few calls that I've never forgotten. One was a guy who rang up hot under the collar about something, and I'm sure he had a really good point to make. This is when I was in Wellington, but he had a budgie near the phone that wouldn't shut up, and he would be making these heavy points, and this budgie would be screeching in the background. I said to him, mate, I can't take you seriously with your budgie
with
going
your
on.
bird.
It was so funny. I've since heard a few calls like that, where you can hear the bird in the background.
Yeah.
That was funny. What was it? There was another talkback one that I had. So many characters there doing that. Is very entertaining.
I
Maybe
bet.
one or two will come to me, but I do remember that the guy with the budgie.
Wonder if he's still around.
Who knows? He was hot under the collar about something. I can't remember the issue, but he was trying to make really good points, but this budgie kept on screeching in the background.
Have you ever thought yourself about running in any kind of political
No,
campaign?
no
No?
way. No.
Never? Why?
That's because that's not me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm happy, and I didn't ever really sort of have an ambition to do this, but now that I'm here,
Hmm.
I'm happy to be able to make available information.
Yeah.
And man, you do with it what you want. I'm not going to tell you. You might get an idea of where I'm coming from.
Right.
So I see I see myself as an information facilitator.
Mm,
And one thing I think I have learnt doing this is I do start to recognize patterns quite early,
mm,
and I think we're all fundamentally pattern recognition kind of biological machines anyway. But I find that pretty soon I'm picking up on a pattern of something,
right.
and I sort of get my gut feeling from that as to whether I go that way or ask that question or do this or do that. So yeah, facilitate information exchange is really what is my business. I would be no good at well, I could probably rally the troops, but the day-to-day sort of focused work on
Yeah.
things, I don't know if I would be
I don't
capable
know
of.
how good you'd be at towing a party line.
No way. I'd have to be running it.
Yeah,
I'd have
yeah,
to be
totally.
I would only work as a benevolent dictator, I think.
Yeah. Who do you think's going to win next year's election if you had to guess?
Oh,
If
that's a
the
tough one.
election was tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
difficult to say because I think we're having an evolving picture right now, which is moving pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm not here to endorse political parties necessarily,
Mm,
but I think it's fair to say that there is only one party that has common sense approach, and even that's not, 100% for me.
mm,
I have a feeling, and I think it's backed up by polls, etc., that they're on the rise.
mm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, I'm talking about are going to be in the 20% zone
Yeah,
in a year, which means they're major players, right?
that's what I think too.
I see ACT as maybe a second fiddle, but a further down.
Mm,
I don't know what really they stand for.
yeah,
They claim to be libertarian, but that's patchy from what I can see. And I wasn't happy with the. I don't like the issues around race being ginned up. I think it's
mm,
unnecessary. And
yeah,
if we didn't talk about it so much, it wouldn't be so much of a problem. Now, that could be a head in the sand attitude. But, the whole thing around treaty principles, was that very necessary?
mm. I feel
You
like it's
know?
caused a lot of division.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for votes,
yeah,
appealing to a particular, and I see that a lot in the media and, other platforms do this, is all the, don't focus on the low hanging fruit. It ain't going to get you anywhere. Going on about tikanga this and okay, when it's starting to have an effect in the law, yeah. But
mm,
if people want to talk to Rao Maori, fine, go for it. No
yeah,
worries. But to take it on board as part of your philosophy when you don't even have a history of it there,
right.
that's a virtue signal. So that's unnecessary. But a lot of this race stuff is unnecessary. It's just noise, not
Mm,
signal. It's noise.
mm.
Concentrate on the things that
The big
actually
issues.
matter. Yeah. Like how how good is it to have a family?
Yeah,
Because if we don't have them, goodbye. We're gone. All right. Um, housing should be affordable. Well, how are we
yeah,
going to undo that? That's that. I'd like to see strategies on that. How do we reindustrialize? So
yeah,
we're not just earning money on butter, milk powder, tourism, and housing, and that's going to go.
mm,
So I want to hear signal, not noise. And a lot of what I hear around the place, just again, my opinion, is
yeah,
just noise and unnecessary. But it's part of almost like part of the game,
yeah.
you
Almost to
know?
distract you to look over here while other things are
Yeah,
going on over there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
how do we run getting back to what we were talking about before, our local government? Because that's where the rubber hits the road on quality of life,
that's
fundamentally.
exactly right.
And so why only 32% of people turning out? Okay. Um, why don't they realize that their quality of life depends on it? But they
Mm.
don't. Maybe they don't care.
How do
Well, if
we
you don't
activate
care,
people to really start to see that because to me, until you get so many people that actually really care about living a good life and working together, we're just going to keep getting the same crap we've always had. How do we do that?
well, and if you're so apathetic that you're prepared to let it happen, okay, I'm happy for it to happen to you. It's your
Yeah.
choice, but not me,
Yeah.
right?
And you see that all the time, constantly. I'll see people say, "Oh, good on you for," and you'll probably get this too. Good on you for having these conversations. Good on you for tackling those issues. I can't do that because I have a job. It's like, yes, so do I. So does everyone, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, going back to COVID,
Mm,
if what we know now about the doctors, if, 20% of the doctors of New Zealand said, go stick it up you where the sun don't shine, that would have been it.
yeah, very different outcome.
That would have drawn a line under it, but they didn't.
Is anybody going to actually testify? Do you know yet from this whole COVID inquiry stuff?
You
Did
mean
they?
the Face the Music people?
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it? I think not fronting up tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I watched Boris Johnson in the UK. I saw
Oh
that
yeah,
he actually sat down for the interview. I was watching the live stream and I
yeah.
thought, good on him for actually doing that. He showed up, he was there to answer the questions. And I thought, man, how come nobody here is doing the same thing? Surely people deserve some sort of answer, regardless of what happened. I just think that people need to understand how decisions were made, what information was coming to them, why did they make
Some
these
would
decisions?
incriminate themselves, Erica.
Hmm. So then what?
Like
There's
seriously, serious. I mean, we're talking serious stuff here. So I think that's why you get this sort of establishment resistance to
mm,
going the full way. But some people who should be answering questions know that they will incriminate themselves. I'm sure of that.
yes. Hmm. Another random question.
Hmm.
Do you have any kids? Do you have a
Yeah, no, I got
family?
three daughters.
No way. How old?
Yep.
Or is too old that you don't want to talk about it?
34, 29, and 25.
And do you have a partner?
Yep, I do.
Oh yeah. And grandkids?
Could be.
Yeah. Oh
Watch
that
this space.
oh exciting.
Might be something on the way.
Oh my goodness. I just
But you
got
see, I'm
chills.
concerned. I'm concerned.
Hmm.
The, this is the big problem. It's wonderful, but I know there could be an issue given what I know.
Yeah.
So there's trepidation as well, joy and trepidation at the same time.
Yep. Because I said to you before I have a 2-year-old and it was a surprise. And I look at him and I think, my gosh, what have I just brought you into? You know?
I don't think you can ever have that attitude. There's
No?
been so many moments in history where if everyone thought that, we
No,
would have been
that's
done.
true.
One thing you should never stop, and that is having children.
Mm. Oh, that's a very good point.
But the
So,
world always makes room for it. Have you noticed that?
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good to know actually to think of it that way.
The system, you go listen to Tom Campbell,
I'm going to after
um,
this.
requires it.
Tom Campbell. Where's Tom Campbell from? Is he a New Zealander?
No, he's from Tennessee.
I'm from Tennessee.
Okay, well, he's an ex-NASA physicist,
Ooh,
and he
cool.
was a consultant into ICBM technology,
Okay.
intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Oh, wow.
He's a
Fascinating.
physicist.
What was the biggest thing you learned from him, or the most interesting thing?
The most interesting thing is, yeah, it's a big topic. That,
Yeah.
what is reality? What's real? Are you familiar with the double slit experiment?
No.
Look into that. It'll change everything you think about the physical world.
What's it called?
The double slit experiment.
Slit experiment. Okay. Every time I talk to you, I learn heaps.
And that comes down to observation,
Hmm.
the observation effect. So if no one's looking, no one's measuring, does it happen?
This is going to blow my mind. I can already tell.
Mm. I think we can, all this is completely fixable, you
Yeah.
know, and it's not as bad as some people have it,
No,
but
no,
it's
I
worse than
agree.
I had it as a kid. I'm telling you now, and there was a lot more, we were a lot less money around then, but life seemed better.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my father about that the other day. He's 92. I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, I said, Dad, okay, he was in the Blitz during the war in London. Okay, he
Mm.
remembers that. He was like a 6, 7-year-old kid at the time. I said, okay, it was probably bad then for you, but my memory of my childhood and growing up, it was really, really great memories. It just seemed such a stable, cozy, nice world.
Yeah.
I said, but you were probably dealing with all the issues that, adults were dealing with back then. He said, no, you're right, it was. But look what we came from.
Yeah.
We don't want to go back there.
No.
So it's how do you sustain the good times?
Yeah.
Maybe people have forgotten how to do that.
I think maybe they have. We're all focused on work, I think, a lot of times and trying to fix everything and not enjoying time with our family, our loved ones, going outside and just doing the things that actually do matter for, I guess, enjoying while you're here.
Well, I remember old Robert Muldoon, who was the Prime Minister for 10 years up till 84 or nine
Mm.
years. And when the Labour Party came in and changed everything, Roger Douglas, Rogernomics, all of that, I remember him saying one thing, which I didn't really pay much attention to. I just thought it was sour grapes. He said, here come the greedies. He was right.
Mm. Yep. Big
Mm.
money and influence. I
And
think,
everyone bought into it.
yeah.
And now it's just stress, it seems to me. But I think we can undo it all if we are practical and go back to where we came from. We need some austerity. I think that we do, but not to the point where people are broken. I think we can manage it,
Yeah.
and pay it down. But we're not going to be able to pay it down if people keep spending ridiculously.
Yeah.
I think people need to take responsibility for their lives a bit more. There's plenty of work to be done. I don't see why we aren't taking advantage. I put this out before an opinion piece a while back with the young people out there who have such potential for game-changing physical work and labor. We can build
Yeah.
motorways, highways, everything the
Yeah.
way that we used to, pay people well, still come way in under budget.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we don't do things like that anymore. And help people set up so they can have not just little families, but 4 or 5.
Yeah. And a
So we
good
can still,
quality of life with those,
yeah.
kids.
And the medical system, that is one thing that I've had my eyes open to. Obviously
Mm.
5 years ago, but more recently at RCR, talking to so many knowledgeable people who
Yeah.
cure people, who actually cure people.
Yeah.
The cost of our health system could be dramatically lowered,
It
just
really
with
could.
some just everyday smart, practical things. Diet. You don't see anything about diet. I talked with Glenn Davies on our health hacks quite a bit, and he's cured over 200 people of type 2 diabetes just in his cohort of patients. I mean, if I was ready, I'd be on the phone.
Yeah.
How the hell are you
Totally.
doing this? Put it around
Yeah.
the whole country now. Come and
Yeah.
talk to me. The phone never rings, though, does it? And they
Cool
don't want to hear
ways.
from him.
Top five Paul tips to a better life. What would they be?
Um, Understand how reality works,
Yeah.
because then you can see why things happen in a particular way.
Mm.
But that's way up there. Be nice, you
Mm.
know. Don't hate.
Mm.
Um, and that's one thing I've found as I've grown older. I mean, I used to be very judgmental about things. I think you do when you're younger. You sort of, hey, I'm the big guy, and I
Yeah.
read the news, stand back, and all this.
Yeah.
Humility is such a wonderful thing.
Mm.
Forgiveness is a superpower.
Mm.
Um, so just and try to understand. I mean, this is nothing new. Understand why. Try and understand why people are thinking a particular way. I mean, why are they saying these things to me? Why are they behaving in this way? Rather than just kind of judge it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not easy to do. More tolerance, but intolerant of stupidness. I mean, so
Yeah.
there's a balance there. And I think, and this comes back to when you look into Tom Campbell.
Yeah.
Love. Oh my God, love.
Yeah.
We need so much need love. I don't mean romantic love necessarily, just
Yeah.
the love of things. Love is an ordered state with
Mm.
meaning. Hate is a disordered state, random craziness.
Yeah.
We can't live in that. Okay. It's entropy, as you'll find out. We need to go back to loving things,
Yeah.
you know. Those now for me, those are the things that touch me now. If I see something where I can feel the love coming out of it, boy, does that touch me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the and that might be observing someone. They won't even know I'm thinking that,
Mm.
or a particular way someone's cared for someone else or an animal or anything.
Yeah.
If we got back to that, I don't know how you get back to it. I don't know how you teach it,
Yeah.
but that seems to be lacking to me.
I think that's great tips.
Yeah.
Thank
Inject
you.
some love in there.
Yeah.
And music,
Oh,
music.
music is great
I'm an
for the
expert on
soul.
music because I've played every song you can ever freaking imagine, and I know it so well. And those are little nuggets for the soul. You need if you if you're kind of feeling down. I mean, you people have feel down have probably heard this before or sick of taking advice. When I'm feeling a bit ragged, music.
Yeah.
Put on some music. For me, it's I like soul music, black soul. I always thought that there might be some. I used to say skinny black man trying to get out, and then I lost a whole lot of weight. Um, I don't know what is Brazilian bossa nova. I just love. There's something about the beat and the sound of that. It's just so cruisy and airy.
Yeah.
Um, Music, man, you got to go for music, and there's thousands of tracks out there, and try and discover new stuff all the time. Plenty of people do. I'm telling them how to suck eggs, but I find if I'm feeling stressed, not down because I don't feel down too much,
Yeah.
um, just some music, and I can feel it topping myself up again in the
What
soul.
are some of your favorite tunes? Your go-to tracks?
Well, I do like one of my favorite albums is Carlos Antonio Carlos Jobim, Wave. That is like being on a magic carpet ride. I do like the old crooners now with particularly Frank because I love the production and the arrangements of the orchestra stuff behind him. But I really like black soul music because
Yeah.
I think it's close to gospel,
Mm.
and I find it so uplifting and so groovy and so cool. My shoulders start to move.
What's an artist I should go look at and listen to after this?
Okay, well, try Antonio Carlos Jobim for once, but in the black soul, try the OJs. Who else? Curtis Mayfield, Isaac Hayes, a whole bunch of them out there. Um,
Cool.
they are the Spinners. Um, it's soul. Barry White. It's soul music. It feeds your soul,
Yeah. I'm gonna do that when we get off this
and
call.
you want to move. You want to move.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was totally blasting music today in the office when everyone came in for the same reason. It's
yeah,
so good.
yeah. It does. I'm really serious about that. It tops you up, and you
Yeah.
know why? That's why I liked getting back to where we started, and not trying to stretch it out, but that's why I
No.
really loved the music radio I used to listen to when I was a kid
Yeah.
because it had this energy about it, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's why people like DJs. I used to think, why do people like DJs? They just play
Yeah.
records. But what they do is they knit it all together
Yeah,
to
they
give you
do.
that continuing kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Sort of like conductors of the soul.
Would you ever go back to music?
Well, I've made some music programs. And we used to, when we're live broadcasting with RCR, I used to produce Peter's show,
That's
and
right.
that was just Paul's favorite hits.
Yeah, that's
And,
right.
but because I've been exposed to so many over the years,
Yeah.
thousands, not more recently, but back in the day, I can just think of them like an index in my head. And we played some on the show that I did, the morning show, play some tracks. But yeah, I've got my playlists, and I'll think, what do I feel like today? The only thing is that if I get familiar with the order of things, I get bored.
Yep.
So randomness is a thing as well. In fact, I was thinking of doing because RCR's on Spotify now. I was thinking of doing some of Paul's playlists
That would be awesome.
that
I
people
would
could just go
totally love that.
do a link to, and I could probably make about 20 or 30 of them, all for different
Yeah.
things. I'm starting to really appreciate classical music now too. I went and saw the Auckland Philharmonic Orchestra when I was up in Auckland, and I never really. I mean, I've been to plenty of performances because my father used to sing in choirs and stuff, and we'd get dragged along. And I used to appreciate the sound of the choir, but seeing all the parts of the orchestra working and now
Mm,
starting to understand what bits did where and stuff,
pretty amazing.
I'm starting to have an appreciation for that. But that's only been a more recent thing.
Do you
Yeah.
think you'll ever retire?
Well, probably from media, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I really don't need, as if you're talking ambition, to do many more things, and I'm not really that interested. I've never, I mean, believe it or not, never. In the early days, I had a bit of an ego, but that got
Yeah.
smashed off when I went into business,
As it does.
as it does, because reality hits.
Hmm.
So I don't have a burning desire to be out front of anything.
Yeah.
Though I think when it comes to RCR, I'm a good tool in the toolbox for what we do,
Right.
along with the others that will have their things. But and I really believe in that mission. In
Yeah.
fact, I think I was destined to end up here. And when I
Yeah.
look back on everything I've done, which is everything from filing records, I was a studio operator as well for years as well. I own my own 24 track sound studio,
Wow.
video studio. I've done all that as well. So behind the scenes, so I'm self-contained. I can do everything, and usually better than virtually everyone.
Oh, wow.
And that's just from the hours put in, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you learn how to do all this. It becomes a necessity if you've got a small business like I had. Getting in contractors was expensive, and it could be the difference between a job paying or not.
Mm.
So I think everything that kind of lined up, that I used to, sit back and think, how much longer am I going to do this damn thing? I'm bored. I'm bored. But I see it was all kind of designed. I would
Yeah.
say that. I would say that and this is getting back to reality. What is reality? So if I'm thinking that something, a system of something, whatever you want to call it, decided or knew that in 45 years,
This is where you would be.
and you're only going to be there if you do it this way.
Yeah.
So how come that knowing was there that long ago for what was almost half a century away? What does that say about the meaning of time?
I now know where you're going with this. What is your, what would you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
I don't care if I'm not remembered. So I am now, I will be shifting. Well, I'm starting to shift gears now because I've been trying to reclaim old planes, right?
Right.
People have told me, you're crazy, you're crazy. But going on what I just told you there, I used to go with my father to the airport as a kid on the observation deck when they used to have one and watch these old planes. And my grandfather was a great aviation enthusiast. I didn't find out about that until after he died because he had accumulated a massive collection of aviation magazines that got distributed around some of the family. And I got some, and I've still got some in storage somewhere. And they're probably collector's items now. I never knew that. But
Wow.
now, two of those aircraft that I would have seen as a kid. In fact, I know one of them because I took a black and white photo of it when I was about 9 years old.
Really?
Is I own it now.
Like, and these are, is this a model plane or
This is
like
an
an actual
airliner.
plane?
It's an intercontinental four-engine jet airliner.
Whoa. This whole time I thought they were like little model planes. These are
No,
actual.
these are real things. And next week in Brazil, my people are meeting with the people at Manaus Airport where our aircraft is derelict, which we own
No
now.
way.
Took us 7 years to own it. Are going to strike a deal with how we dismantle it, store it, and then bring it home. And hopefully, March, April next year, that aircraft will be at a museum in Wanaka for everyone to come and have a look at.
No way.
Now, what does that say about New Zealand? Our history, because we have to value our history. What that says is we were kind of ballsy back in 1965 to be among the first in to buy these
Yeah.
airliners to stop our tyranny of distance. The 1.8 million Kiwis who flew in that one plane all had a story to tell.
Right.
I met the guy, one of the guys who flew that aircraft. He's dead now. Now that's just one. We're going for six, and we've got another one lined up
Really?
as well. And
So what is
so
this organization that you have outside of this?
I've been, yeah, it's called Bring Our Birds Home, and there are just only six of these original. These are the last remaining original members of our fleets, right, from 1959 through to, well, the youngest one would be 1976, the youngest one.
Wow.
And, you know, they're the ones that Air New Zealand is built on these aircraft. Where do you,
No way.
people got to remember, where do you think this all came from?
Wow.
So we get the actual, these are the last ones, so we have to do everything we can to save them because there are no more. So we've saved this one, and we've done a deal on that, and we're just about to save another one in North Carolina, one of our first 737s from 1968
Wow,
that
Paul.
flew the first commercial domestic jet service. Like, where do you think it all started? So
Yeah.
I want to, along with a few others, bring these back because, and I think that's getting to kind of what we've been covering in the big picture.
Hmm.
When people forget their history, it's like the rudder detaches from the boat, you know?
Yeah,
Where do we come from? Where are we going? If you know where we've come from, you know where we're going. That's what I
that's
think.
right.
And if you can have the physical item, I've been to a lot of museums around the world, mainly aircraft museums, and the one thing that just melts me is I see little kids standing under these huge airliners, and the look on their face, girls and boys, is like, wow.
Yeah.
And I want that for our children,
Yeah.
you know, and that sorts out the future geniuses, engineers, can
Yeah.
do, you know, um, personalities. They did it before, we could do it again. And
Yeah.
that's why it's important to have the physical items, not just the models or the pictures, but the
Right. The
physical thing.
actual. So many planes do you have here in New Zealand now?
Well, we have, well, that I'm directly involved with two already, and that is the plane that used to fly out to the Chatham Islands, Air Chathams.
Right.
So that's sitting at the museum, and one of the early regional airliners that we had in the early 80s, the first one, that's there too. But when we get the DC-8, which is a four-engine, 180-seater here in bits, but we'll reassemble it, and it'll look like the day it came off the production line at Long Beach, California, in
Wow.
1965. And we get our Boeing 737, which I've just a year and a half ago went over to the States. This is how slow things go here, Erica. But this, I'd say to people, you hang in for the good stuff.
Yeah.
We bought two jet engines, our trust, in 2017, 2018. A friend of mine is now dead, and he was a casualty of the Twin Towers collapse. He was a first responder and got the lung cancer that everyone
Oh
got.
no.
He saw our campaign and he sent me a message saying, "You don't know who I am, but I like what you're trying to do." He said, "There's got a friend of mine who's in the film business and he provides props for aviation movies. Like he provided the props for the movie about the miracle on the Hudson, you know."
Yeah.
Um, and he says you got two Pratt and Whitney jet engines there, which would go with your 737 because those are the engines that they first came out with. So we put out a give a little, and we got some money in, and I did a deal with the guy. We bought the engines.
No way.
Then COVID came along, and the shipping prices went from 6,000 Kiwi dollars to 28,000.
Holy
So they sat
cow.
at the Mojave Desert, in the desert, for 5 years almost. And then we were able to scrape together the money and went over. So the engines are sitting there, two jet engines. They're the hottest selfie backdrops in Wanaka now because no one gets close up to a jet engine.
No.
You
Where are
know,
they in Wanaka?
they're at the National Transport and Toy Museum, which is where we're putting the artifacts.
Wow.
So when we get the plane out of the North Carolina field where it is and back to New Zealand, all painted up and restored, which will take some years, those engines will be put back on and it'll be a complete airplane. It'll be beautiful.
So that's your legacy.
I would like to have that, but that's more a selfish thing for me
Mm.
because I don't know about you, but there's just some things that you remember in your life that you'd really like to have again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not enough to have the pictures. I got thousands of pictures. But I visited this plane in Brazil, in Manaus, up in the Amazon jungle in 2019, and it was quite an emotional experience because for 6 years up till then, or was it 5 years, we've been saying we were going to try and get this, and people were telling me all around the world, "You'll never get it, you'll never get it. The place is corrupt. They used to run drugs in it, probably. It's the airline went bankrupt. No one knows who owns it. The courts won't let anything go." Well, it didn't turn out that way, you see. It turned out that it wasn't owned by the airline. It was owned by a guy in Miami who leased it to the airline. And he was in his 90s now and had long retired and given it up because he knew it was derelict. And he donated it to us. He said,
No
when
way.
I bought it from Air New Zealand in 1981, he said, and there were four that he bought from Air New Zealand because they retired the fleet at the same time. He said they're the best maintained examples he'd ever seen. So he had a soft spot for the Kiwis. So he donated them to us. A judge accepted that in Brazil. It was peeled away from the bankruptcy incumbent. And since then, we've had, and this is how it goes, Erica, this is how it goes. We've had a guy who's come forward. He's in Australia, but he's a Kiwi. And he's a logistics, owns a big logistics company. He freights stuff all around the world on ships. And he came out of the blue to one of my colleagues there, got in touch with us and said, "You don't know who I am, but been watching you guys for ages." He says, I'm interested in helping you ship your DC-8. He says, "I can do that. We can do that." I said, "Okay." "Why?" He says, "Because my dad used to fly that plane
Wow.
in 1972.
Wow.
So if you don't do things, you'll never know.
Yeah. Have
And
you ever
they're
heard of
out there.
Braniff Airways? Have you ever heard of
Yeah, I
that?
do, Braniff. Yeah.
My mom used to fly with that.
Okay.
Braniff Airlines. Yeah. I've
There were
never.
four versions of Braniff.
So I know
Yeah.
nothing about planes.
Yeah. Braniff, they used to have the flying colors. You would have seen pictures of them, quite intense colors. All the planes were different colors, green, blue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, real history on Braniff, long since passed away. But that's the era I'm talking about. Our
Yeah.
jets come from, and they'll be
Wow.
around way longer than me.
Yeah. Well, that is cool.
I always say to people, Erica, you got to have a hobby.
Yeah.
Got to have a hobby.
Bring our birds home.
Bring our birds, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. Wow,
So
that's great.
it's again, it's this time thing. You look back over the time of it. If someone said, "Okay, That's a nice black and white photo, Paul, that you've taken of ZKNZC at Wellington in 1973 or 4 or whatever it was. You'll own that one day.
It will.
Really? Do you think? Yeah. Not only that, maybe some others.
You'd have been
And
like,
when I
how would
say,
that be possible?
well, it would have blown my mind.
Yeah.
But you know, and why is it good to do? Because it will bring joy
Mm.
to people. The love, you see?
Yeah, I see it now. The love and the journey, even though ups and downs throughout it, still
Don't give
find the
up.
love at the end. Yep.
Well, yeah, when I went and saw it, sorry, I got sidetracked. When I went and saw it, um, you know, an old colleague of mine when I was doing aviation filming in America, because I spent 6 years doing that, and he was one of the main guys who got the artifact collection together for what they call the Museum of Flight in Seattle, which is the Boeing Museum of Flight. And this guy was in the this sort of community is he's probably the god, and he's a mate of mine now, though he's 93, so he's fading fast. Bob Bogash. Anyway, I saw him do a talk once when they recovered an airliner, and it took him 20 years to get it restored for one last flight from this airfield to the museum. The first 727 ever built. Okay. And the pilots knew it was the first one because they've all carved their initials in the cockpit. So you go
Wow.
in the cockpit and there's about 400 initials carved in the paintwork of the panels. Okay.
Amazing.
It's a seat 126, it carried 3 million passengers in its entire life with United Airlines. So you can work out how many flights a day and how full that was. I think it took off and landed 81,000 times.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so that's impressive for the machine.
Yeah.
What he said, do the theme of his talk was, do aircraft have a soul? And of course, the machine doesn't have a soul
Right.
because it's metal. But he says there's a soul that resides in it.
Mm.
And that is the effect of every person who's
Never
ever
sat
had
in it.
anything to do with it. And that's the same, that's why I pointed out the 1.8 million that we worked out flown in that aircraft when it was with Air New Zealand for 18 years. You can sort of reverse engineer the equation on there and see how often it flew and how many people it averaged, given that it sat 180 people. And it's everyone who traveled in it, it's everyone who flew it, it's everyone who maintained it. And he said this, and he says, and there are the ghosts. And those are the
Yeah.
people you never saw. Those are the ramp guys and the engineers and all that. And I thought that's interesting. So now when I visualize our one, I think of the ghosts. And remember that movie Field of Dreams?
Loved that movie.
I have felt for a long time that there are a lot of those ghosts, Kiwis mainly, out in that field. And they're saying to me, hurry
Coming
up,
home.
son. We want to come out of the field.
Bring
And
us home.
hopefully, April next year, they will.
Oh, you're gonna have to let me know about this when it comes back. We
Yep.
might have
Oh,
to
it should be
we
a
might
big
have to do
story.
another one of these.
It should be a big story, but here's the thing, Erica. I might be persona non grata for media coverage, so they'll
Right.
miss the biggest story of the time. But I think they'll be irrelevant by then anyway.
Well, I don't know. I'll be there, Paul.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a big one. I can see it being loaded off the ship at Timaru probably because that's where it'll
Yeah.
come in. I want to have a. I'm already talking with people because it's a treasure. It's a national treasure, taonga, if you want to use the word.
Yeah.
And through a weird chain of events has ended up in the most unlikely place in the world, Manaus, Brazil, Amazon jungle. The
Yep.
fact that it was operated by an airline that went bankrupt was necessary because it meant that no one touched it.
Mm.
Airliners that are not useful are usually turned into Coke cans, as they say, pretty quick. This one's
Yeah.
sat there since 2003 on its
Just
own,
waiting for you.
waiting for me to turn up. And when I turned up, went and had a quiet word with her. I said, I come for you. Here I am.
Here I am, baby.
And it's still waiting, but
Whoa.
won't have to wait long. That something something happened in that process that meant it wasn't touched.
That's fascinating. Oh, I do want to come. You have to keep me posted.
Yeah. It's going to be very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, anything could happen. And I've always thought, even if we fail, I mean, it
At
matters.
least you tried.
At least you tried
Yeah.
everything, and it wasn't to be. And that's not really my making,
Yeah.
But so far, we're almost there, and we've been through some difficult moments with it. And of course, it's a process because I've got negotiations going on for two others at the moment, plus we're eyeing one in Cuba, which is
Right.
another order of magnitude. But once you get one and people see, hey, this works, the enthusiasm. Kiwis are like that. They won't throw their hat in the initial thing.
Right.
But
They
once you've
wait.
done the impossible,
Yeah.
they go,
Then they're
oh, I've
in.
always been part of this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
So no, it's a pretty cool thing, and if even if we just get that one, I'll be happy with that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
This has been awesome. I've really enjoyed getting to know you.
Oh,
Yeah, I really have. I think it's fascinating. So,
yeah.
thank you for telling me your story, and I'm really excited to put this together.
Oh, always nice to chat. It's usually the other way around,
Yeah,
obviously.
I know.
But
That's why I thought it was such a cool idea. Someone in my office came up with it, and they said, "Hey, why don't you interview the interviewer?" And I thought, "Huh? Well, that is a
I
fascinating
never
idea."
thought I would be an interviewer. I never. I thought it was just something I did to fill in for people, and it used to worry me a bit. I used to get a bit nervous about it, but there's nothing to be nervous about because if you're curious,
And
you'll
it's
ask, and usually what you want to know is what other people want to know. But I never
yeah,
thought I'd be an actual like interview machine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're a machine.
Yeah, yeah. But I get to find out so many interesting things. So I feel
Yeah,
so lucky.
and
And
the
I and I
stories.
and I have to put a shout out, when the history books are written, um, there are three ladies in particular, more than that, but the ones I'm referring to, um, three or four, and some men who will change this country.
Do you want to name them?
Our people know.
Yeah.
Um, it's not that I, self-conscious about naming them or anything, but if I start naming one or two, I mean, where does the list stop? Because there are
Yeah,
many.
that's true.
But when the history books are written, people will realize that there was quite a thin line
Yeah.
between good and not so good. And I have been so impressed by a number of people
Mm.
how powerful they are.
Yeah. I
Not
feel very
obvious on the
lucky.
surface, not obvious.
Yeah.
Boy.
I feel
So,
very lucky to have met them and know who they are.
and the principles and the ethics
Yeah.
and the goodness and the love, I'll never forget that.
That's special.
Sure is.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Erica. It's been a pleasure.